Let's start Tuf Kif Lamed Vov. Tuf Kif Lamed Hey. Yeah, Tuf Kif Lamed Hey. So the Mechaber says, "Ein mefanen chotza lechotza." You cannot move from one chotza to another chotza. You want to move, Hamoed? You want to move out? I've been asked this question more than once. You know, sometimes just people do it practical. Sometimes they have to move, literally.
The pani means
to clean. Fana means to move out, removed something. It's a Mishnah word. Mishnah is fana means to clean out, so to remove something. From a not clean place to a beautiful place. Doesn't make a difference. Fana is the rusoi, his where he's living. Fana skelush and it's you don't need for the moed. You're not allowed to clean out. So I want to explain something. There's a famous question in the Elchonon. Is Hamoed, are you allowed to carry whatever you want? Because Hamoed, you have something in your pocket, you absolutely don't need it. Is that permitted or not permitted? So the Medayik from this halacha, it says you're not allowed to move out, and Rashi and the Rishonim learn because it's a huge tercha. Tercha means a big bother, big, moving. You know what moving is? You all know.
What about sukkahs? I mean, you want to move stuff into your sukkah.
No, that's a tzorech hamoed that you're not to. It's tzorech hamoed. But I'm just saying. But you see, so they don't. Rashi doesn't say because you're carrying. Rashi says it's a huge tercha. Tercha means a huge bother, huge load. So you see, so that's what the Meiri learns. The Meiri learns from this halacha. There's no issa to carry. So there's nothing to worry about. That you have something in your pocket, something that you absolutely don't need whatsoever. You know what I mean? Hamoed, it's Yontif, you have to be careful. If there is no Erev, if you're not saying Mechan Erev, Yontif, you're only allowed to carry something that you really need. That's one of the reasons I like the Erev, because lots of people don't know this Yontif, you're not allowed to carry only what you need. Many people carry so many things, you carry your keys. If you don't need certain keys, you're not going to use whatsoever. It's the key to your office. You're not going to your office. You're not allowed to have it in your keychain. But the Ma'aseh, that's Yontif. But Hamoed, there's nothing wrong carrying. Okay, the carrying is like the nasa carrying.
Right here, it seems to be saying you cannot move stuff out of your house. That's a big trouble.
Because that's a big trouble.
So anything where there's like tirta, then you're
right.
Not supposed to do that.
So the Chronim do say that even though the Mechaber says that there was a tzorech hamoed, only the Chronim I see bring down the minig was not to move Hamoed unless it's a dover ovid, not just tzorech hamoed. Because today it's such a nomen, not just today. In Europe already they bring it down. You know what? Anyone have moved recently? It is such a.
With the moving company, it's not the
if you paid, if they do everything, even they do everything. You moved, even they do everything. It's the tercha to pack up and to keep. Today, which household doesn't have who knows how many things? And I mean, that's true. Married for a few years, that you've this and that, and it's a huge tercha. It's a huge tercha. I once had someone literally had to move out because, if I remember well, he was evicted, so he had no option. You know what I mean? But otherwise, you're not supposed to plan it. Some people think that you're allowed to plan it. Hamoed. Okay. Then the Remu says, in the same courtyard, you're allowed to move. Carry from one house down the same courtyard. What's his name? Nishmas. What's the Shalom Yankov ben Tauber. So he says yesh omenim shabai even though it's open to a movie. The movie means open to. It's not just in the chutzer. It's open. Movie means a thorough street through this place. if you're afraid of being something stolen, mitar from chutzer lechutzer. Amishtamer from ir. If you're afraid there's going to be a loss, everyone agrees you're allowed to move. Nothing to talk about.
What is it by chatzar l'chatzar? I mean, like if there's an error, you could not carry.
No. You know, the times of Chazal, they had a big chutzner. You know how it worked. Like I don't see that anymore. But they had a huge courtyard, and and you see people have cul-de-sacs. It's a huge cul-de-sac in the house. They had it was closed in. You couldn't come into the chutzner. It's like it's maybe like this. How's it called? The guarded areas. Apartments.
You would take from one cul-de-sac to another cul-de-sac, right?
In this place, in this closed-up place, it's not the Beferesia. It's in the chutzner. You're allowed to move.
No, that's what bias for bias. And what you're saying is
Yard to yard. A gated community. But the bottom line is, I tell people, when I'm ever asked they shouldn't do it, it's an incredible tercha. It's unbelievable tercha. Okay. We could go to Tuf Kif Lamed Vav. We don't have garbage so much. Let's go. Now, this is a very important halacha, even though we don't have animals. Mi shitzurich lichka b'moed. He's got right on a moed. The tile to go to Tiyul. Horseback. They didn't go horseback. This is how they rode. They had nothing. Yeah, they went to sightseeing, Disneyland, all the places we mentioned go. Because he's talking about. He says, "Mi shetzurich lich b'moed letayil letzorich hamoed." When the nissa lelachas b'raglov, he was not used to go with it's not something that you go with your legs. He says, and yuchalit tziparna asus. If you don't take off the nails of the horse and you don't knock in the shoehorn, you have a hard time. The ikev, sakin baraga ikev, the saddle, resen, all what a horse needs. Why is this so much negeya? This is the $20 million question. Can I give my car into the mechanic Hamoed? If it's a tzorech hamoed. But the problem is, it's a meleches umen. Tzorech hamoed, meleches If, means you really need a professional. Certain work you don't need. Certain, changing a tire, we're lazy, but you could change a tire. Anyone could learn how to do it. No, if you're really stuck, you could change it. We just, we're not going to bother. We have to, but things that what you really they themselves don't know, they got to check and figure out what's wrong. You really need a uman. So it's worse than this. That's why So I always tell people, ask me this: can I have my car fixed? Chalamoy, when if it really needs a real fixing, not just So the idea uman, you're not allowed to the tzorech hamoed. What you should do then is rent a car. You're allowed to. Renting a car is like buying something. You're allowed to buy the tzorech hamoed. A meleches uman, even though it's a goy, it's a Mexican, doesn't make a difference. If whatever you're not allowed to do, you're not allowed to go do.
So you're not allowed to repair.
You're not allowed to give it to repair, have it repaired even by a goy.
Can you maybe explain just why? Like what's
the Hamoed, the Chazal said moed is not like Shabbos, it's not like Yom Tov, it's a less than level than Yom Tov.
Right. No, but I mean, why? What's the significance between paying to repair your car?
No, paying to rent a car.
Right. Excuse me.
Paying to rent a car.
Paying to repair it. Like,
because you're allowed to.
What makes it okay?
Because renting, you're not allowed to buy on the moed only if there's a need for the moed. I need a shirt, I'm allowed to buy a shirt. Need a tie, you can buy a tie. I need a car, I can rent a car. Fixing is a professional job, which entails a real malacha. Fixing a car is a tikkun. It's a real one of the lamates malachas, and it's something that a professional person needs to do it. So the Rabbanim says chalamoid you're not allowed to. So chalamoid is not like Yom Tov. Yom Tov you're not allowed to buy nothing. The only thing I'm allowed to buy, not even pay, I'm allowed to just take it and from the grocery and credit. Only food. I need a shirt. You can't sell me a shirt. I need tzarich Yom Tov, food.
What if your stove breaks? Can you call a repairman for that?
So that's a good question. The stove breaks because that's mamash tzarich hamoed. That is a big machlokes. Some hold that if it's a that's a tzarich hamoed. That's probably it's a machshir eichel nefesh. You know what Machshir Eichel Nefesh means? It's
Not the food, it refers to.
it's a Machshirim.
Preliminary.
Preliminary. It's not the food itself, but you need the stove to cook. So that many hold that you're allowed to do, but my I just would have to think about how you're allowed to make an oven, the Mishnah says, because an oven on Hamoed, because that is Machshire Tzorech Hamoed. So that you're allowed to. I had some with the refrigerator. Someone refrigerator died. That's Tzorech Hamoed, that's for sure. Like that's Mamish Machshire Eichel Nefesh. You need the freezer.
Maybe you can fix it on Yontif if you have a lot of gas.
Yontiv, yeah, I had once Mamish such a case. A guy came that the freezer broke down, and this was going to be a hefsid meruba meyoid.
Right, Pesach especially.
I think it wasn't Pesach, it was just a lot of guests. You know, the freezer broke, and so it was such a tavagoy. It was a big hefsid. But if it's just your own freezer. Okay, so this is important. So you're not allowed to fix the car. See, over here it says you're allowed to fix the horse. It's not a meleches uman. It's a tzorech hamoed and a hedyot. A car, which normally you really need professional training. You know, you have to know what you're doing. It's really, and then you're not allowed to, because yontiv, the tzorech hamoed, you're not allowed to do a professional job. Chalamoid. We're talking about working chalamoid. Okay? So then there's a question. Can you go, how you say in English, cruising on the 101? What did they say? Shvatzir. What is the question, a car? Because a car, you're really making a fire. You know how a car works. It's making a fire. You know, driving a car on Shabbos is real Chol Shabbos. You're making a fire. Yontiv it's only a Drabbana. You're not allowed to say it loud, because Yontiv, you're not allowed to make a fire if there's a tzorech. So, and you're not going to make a new fire, but yeah, it's only with the Rabbanim. So that's why Yontiv. People always ask me, my guest is coming and it's Yontiv, and you know, can I invite them and not invite them? Yontiv is a whole different sugya than Shabbos. But Al Kaponim, but the question is, Chalamoid, you're making a fire for no reason. Can I go driving? I just want to go Latil. I'm not allowed to go do. But as Moshe held, today driving is a teal, it's a tzorech hamoed, no one walks. You're allowed to, you know, we in California don't even walk around the block. When we walk, we have to say, L'shem yiche kitche b'riche shchinta. We put on the gato, we're going to walk now. You know, no one walks, only if you walk, L'shem walking, you know what I mean? But Moshe held, not everyone agrees to that, but Moshe held that today driving is like, no question you're allowed to drive, even though you're making a fire. Even though you.
Electric car is also fire?
I think electric car also works with fire. I think so.
That's a good question. The hybrids have, well, the hybrids definitely have spark plugs, so that is.
I'm most sure it works with fire also. Not the same idea, but it works with fire. Okay. So then let's move on. He says, "Amit the lirka b'moy from ili go riding a fil bechinam, geen hagi, elishus lesakin kot zorge chive ein roichel tzorich ole tail." You're allowed to go driving on a horse for no reason. Nothing. You want to drive? What is your horseback riding? But if you want to fix the shoehorn, whatever it's called, the shoe thing, or the saddle, or the thing for that has to be a tzorich hamoed.
Or oil tile, no. Also, then comes the if he's not being a tile.
Yeah, the second, Chena Elishus sagen kol tzorich chivim ein roichel tzorich oil tile. Tile is also. Yeah, well, that's. Well, if the tile is a tzorich, right. So, anyways, but that doesn't apply to a car. Now, let's say, then the mechaber, the next one is important. Mitalisik asus k'dei le'apoisai. Yeah, not just the cow, you're allowed to comb the animal. The chiddush is, even though it's a psikresha, The Hamoed, there is no problem of psikresha. That means if you want to eating outside in the sukkah and you're washing your hands and you're going to water the grass while you're washing. So, you're not allowed to water your grass on Hamoed. And washing, and on Shabbos and Yom Tov, you're not allowed to do it. If you're washing outside in your yard and you have grass there, you're not allowed to wash if the water is going to go onto the grass. That's a psikresha. On Yom Tov and Shabbos. Yom Tov, the Hamoed doesn't, no, you're not allowed to.
You have to begin that you can't do anything.
Hamoed, you're not allowed to water your grass unless it goes automatic from the sprinkling system. Right. So now, but you're allowed to do over here because it's what's his name? Here you're allowed to do it because it's not mechaven. It's a psikresha. There's no psikresha on what's his name on Hamoed. Okay. This is I don't know. I'm just trying to think other cases. Psikresha. I remember. You understand what psikresha means? The idea that even it's going to happen, this doesn't apply Hamoed. Okay. Now, Siv Gimel is a very important halacha. Siv Gimel is saying a farmer is not allowed to mate the animals. Markive b'mehei v'mohid. You're not allowed to. Why? There's no lamates malachas. Farmer you just wants to make sure that animals mate. It's just a big headache and a job and whatever they do. But it's not a malacha. It's not. You understand? It's not one of the 39 malachas. Tircha. Here you see that one of the cases, Chazal did not want you, even though it's not a malacha. You understand? Mating animals is not a malacha. Farmer does a Shabbos Yom Tov, he didn't violate any Issa D'Oraisa. It's just tircha. Tircha means, what's the right word? Tircha. Big what? Big bother, a big headache. It's a whole job. It takes away, if you're going to be busy with it, it'll take your Simchas Yom Tov away. You're not allowed to do it Hamoed. So you see, Hamoed not only malachas is also, even a big something which is a nuisance, something which is
Many husbands going to Disney World is recht that here.
I don't know.
That's for sure. It is.
It takes the Simchas Yom Tov away from the parents. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to say for the record, when people ask me, I say, if you have boys, you're not allowed to take them to Disneyland.
But if you have girls who are.
Girls, yeah, there's no, it's like walking around and half naked, they won't walk around. There's no heter for boys to go there. I don't go there. But when I did it the last time, it was 25 years ago, I would say over the story, there's a big, I dropped my wife and family off, it's a big sign, the happiest place on earth. So I say, I was watching the people coming in, the faces, there was no one smiling. Everyone was tense, and with the children. And I was, what do you mean the happiest place in the world? It's no, the children are miserable. Ask him what's the deal. The children are happy in Disneyland? They do?
How about the gym?
What do you say, gym?
How about the gym?
It depends on the gym. And I was told by men there's certain gyms where it's not so pritzisdik, and certain gym which is just terrible. It all depends. I can't answer that question as a rule. I know someone told me there's a gym in our neighborhood. He says for some reason the women don't come pritzis. They just come with sweatpants, and they're very far. But we used to go to another gym. It was just horrible. So you shouldn't go. You're not a person. We men have to be careful. There's nothing.
About that question, it's we have to be, of course we have to be careful. I understand, but there's something wrong with even being in an environment where that's there, like for example a yoga class that's done in hot yoga.
What is hot yoga?
I go to hot yoga, right? It's 95 degrees in the room. Everybody is doing yoga.
Everybody's in their bathing suits.
So everybody's in their bathing suits.
Yeah.
So this is a real practical question. I'm just curious to know: is it that we're not supposed to do it because you're not supposed to see it?
You're not supposed to see it.
You're not supposed to see it.
Yoga, you close your eyes. Part of yoga.
No.
I have no idea.
Not until you close your eyes. Not until the end when you have to do a little meditation. But no, the purpose of the question is so you're not supposed to see it.
Shouldn't do it. It's not supposed to see it. I know this is our incredible test before Mashiach comes. Pritz is abnormal. I know I have to unfortunately do the shopping sometimes for my wife. She never can do it. Trying to do everything online lately, learning how to do these things online to do the shopping. It's a great idea, doing all the shoppings online lately. But not always can you have everything done, and it's just amazing. Okay. Then the Mechaber says, you're allowed to, if you have many people have pets, you're allowed to take it to the vet, take blood. You're allowed to, I've been asked this question, you're allowed to take the dog to a vet, and the question was, a vet, can he work on animals? I have a veterinarian in my neighborhood, Yiddish vet, and sometimes he most often he doesn't go in. He has going to it, and it's a do it over it. We'll later learn why. Otherwise, if he's not available, he's going to lose customers right and left.
Oh, yeah. Losing customers.
Yeah, we're going to learn that it's also do it over. Losing customers is do it over. But sometimes I remember why one time I had to go in for some reason. You're allowed to. There's no to take care of the animals, even though it's a malacha. You're allowed to do that. Not that Sabal Chaim, not because Chazal didn't answer this for outside an animal. That doesn't say it so. Okay, the next Mechaber, I just want to point out, it's not so much the Gay for us. The next Mechaber Dal is talking about you're not allowed to take a chicken and put it on the egg. If a chicken ran off from the eggs, a whole nafkamina. If Shabbos, a guy puts his chicken on the eggs, he didn't violate one of the 39 malachas. It's nothing. It's not one of the. So you see, it's a tercha. This was a huge tercha. We don't understand it. Who has chickens laying eggs? And I remember taking one of my children to Exposition Park when she was young, and she thought that's how, she told me, so how did they do in older days? They didn't have this box. She says, how they really supposed to do it? A chicken's supposed to sit on the egg. You know what I mean? But Lamaisa, Chazal Aset and Hamoed, this shows you also many tirchas. We cannot invent our own tircha, but if it's
you could do it on Shabbos, even though it's a tircha.
No, and it's not the Lamates Malachas. You're not allowed to do Hamoed, you're not allowed to do Shabbos. Yeah. But the point is that it's not one of the 39 violations. Yeah. It's putting a chicken on egg, it's just muktzah. There's nothing violation. But they didn't want you to exert yourself, and Hamoed has got to be a day of happiness. That's what they wanted you should do. I don't want to go into details, 3 days this way, because it's not negated for us, who has chickens and who has what's his name. But it's after 3 days, it was a loss and not loss. The point was, you see, the Rabbanim forbade any big tercha. Okay, let's move on. This is very important. Tuf Kif Lamed Zayin is extremely important. Dover Ovid, something that's a loss, Mittel Asoyse B'chol HaMoed, B'loi Sheni. Anything that's a loss. I want to tell you a huge kula. I'm looking around. Why the Chachamim don't bring it down? The Shara Tshuva holds, and I found the B'Sosef argument because this is one of the questions people ask me. Your father's business, the Moshe, it's very important. Can you have open Chalamoid the business? Now, if he doesn't keep the business open Chalamoid, he's got to pay all the workers there, right? He can't say to the workers, "You're not getting paid." I think legally he would have to pay them. So this is called the Dover Ovid. That means if I would close the business, I would have to pay all the workers. You have 20 workers, it doesn't make it 20 or 10, but you have workers there, you're going to have to pay them for the whole Chalamoid, and they're not producing anything. So that's dar loss. The Bis Yosef holds and Hilchas Avelis, it's called the Dover Ovid. He brings down the Shara Tshuva, it's not called the Dover Ovid. Now people have asked me, I always tell them it's called the Dover Ovid. You guys open Chalamoid? What a business did you have?
Textile, a few hundred workers.
Yeah. So if you you have to pay. If you close, you would have to pay.
Well, it sounds like the distinction you're making is that if theoretically you did not have to pay them,
yes, then you would have a heter. Because that's just losing profit.
Not so simple when you have the way we hedged in our business is that there's a certain overhead, and we made a certain amount of kilos of merchandise, and we divided the overhead to every.
Yeah, but still, it's not.
Makes a big difference every day. When we're big in a business, when the numbers are big, it makes So when we sold it at the end for the same price, how much halacha we make? And there's a certain when there's little margins, it makes a difference between making money or losing money.
Okay, so then that's the Tauber of it. So that argument, no, Yontif is the Yontif of Tauber of it is also. Yontif, Shabbos Yontif, you're going to lose. It's too bad. That's just the guy. That's something else. I'm just saying, as running a business, Shabbos and Yontif, without all these things is. But running a business, Hamoed, where you have to pay the workers, the B'Yosef holds that's called the Tauber of it. He clearly says that way.
Not for the customers?
Not for the customer. That's a separate issue. But sometimes you're not going to lose a customer. Some people told me certain businesses have asked me, I'm not going to lose a customer. Just because I'm closed, everything works with email. I could have someone just email them, yes, we will be very busy. One of the people of here once told me that there are people, a veterinarian, he told me clearly, if I'm not open Hamoed, I'm lose the business. I'll lose a lot of customers. I lose customers, sometimes Yontif too, because he closes Yontif. It doesn't sell it, closes Yontif, and there's emergencies, you know what I mean? People pay, I don't know, I was ignorant, but people pay a lot of money. I had a guy in my block, he passed away already, he had a small poodle, and he tells me one day that he paid $5,000 to fix the leg of the poodle. So I asked him, hip replacements, I asked him, how much does a new one cost? He says about $125. So why didn't you get a new one? Boy, did I get it from him.
Can I ask a question? I know this example you gave with the poodle, right? And I understand where it came from. The other day when we were talking about that animals are the angels, remember? So how is it that on a practical level...
Animals is what? Baruchni.
Correct?
Yeah, but animals are here to serve us. That's why you're allowed to slaughter a chicken, you're allowed to slaughter an animal. The Rebbeinu Shalom says the animals in this world is here to serve the humans. That's why it's very nice Peter woke up in the 20th century, 21st century. Before there was cars, how do you think Peter existed? You think the donkey is very happy when he has a load on his back?
Okay, no, that I understand, but the question I was going to ask was more like from a domestic animal, when you have right? So the way they're serving the owner is through love, essentially. It's
attention, whatever.
Attention, right? So, I mean, I've seen that like just by virtue of your example alone, what you're really implying by that example is this is just a dog. What's the So how do you reconcile that the true wisdom and thought of our teaching is that this is
it's still a dog and it's still a cat, and the dog and the cat and the chicken and the cow and the sheep and the goats are here to serve humans. So that's why you're allowed to slaughter a cow. That's why you're allowed to eat chicken. You're a vegetarian.
No, I eat meat.
Right. So why do we eat meat? Because the Torah Hashem said to Noach, the animals of the world planet is here to serve the humans. That's why we're allowed to work with the donkey and donkey schlepped and all commerce. Do you know that it says the dever, but the Surah Marcus is called Yad Chazokah. Remember the God, the Yad Chazokah is the dever. Why is Yad Chazokah the dever? Dever means all the animals died. You know, when all the animals died in Mitzrayim, there was no commerce. You couldn't move. Imagine all the cars stop. I mean, we did disaster. That's why it's called Yad Chazukah, because Hashem said to us humans, the animals. So if a dog serves me because it keeps me company, and I think he loves me, whatever people think about a dog, okay, it fulfills its purpose. And the cow fulfills its purpose by giving us milk. I don't think the cow likes it, that he just, you milk him.
With the permission of Rabbi Kama, it's relative. The society that values animals, that's a beautiful thing, but they don't value human beings much more. People here tell me that the worst day of their life is the day that my grandfather and my dog died in the same breath. That's a problem.
Right. No, I get that.
It's a relative thing.
That's definitely.
And you'll notice that the more people honor animals in our society, the less they value life, ironically. And then Nazis were the best.
Right, no, I know.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Someone said to me this question. Someone over here, well, I remember someone said this, that in the secular world, you would ask a guy, if your dog is drowning, a human being is drowning, who would you say first? And most people would say they serve the dog, because they don't value, secular people don't value. The Torah says a dog is just to fulfill our needs. It's just, people have asked me all the time, can I put the dog to sleep?
People look at other human beings that are just here to fulfill. People are so narcissistic. Everyone is just fulfilled their needs. And the dog fulfills their needs better than
People
another
are
person.
having to serve.
People don't honor life.
They don't value.
Life relative to life.
What about a slave?
But the Torah demanded you, the Torah demanded you to give respect for a slave. You're not allowed to eat before you give your slave to eat. You're not allowed to eat before you give the dog to eat.
Yeah, right.
And the same thing is by a slave. You're not allowed to sit down to make sure the slave is there. Torah demanded you should. The Rambam says you have to respect the slave.
They're here to serve us.
Yes. Yeah, that was. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Duvar uvet, something that's a loss. Mitel asoyse chalamoid b'lo shini. So the Mechaber brings cases. Firke beisa shaluchan. I'm just going to say that's a field that needs to be watered all the time, otherwise everything dries up. Shehischel ashkoyse kone mitel ashkoyse, you're allowed to water it. If you have something, if you're not going to water it, it's going to get ruined. Shekiven, he says, Shekiven she's ashkoyed nechem imloi shekene achshe tifsit, av a suda baal, a field that does not need watering, it gets watered by the natural rainwater, only to make it better. Now, I want to focus on this. We're not going to go into the farming over here. But the Rabbi Avram says that what makes something a dover of it. Now, let me tell you, you're allowed to write a document, if you remember, you learned Daf Yomi, because we're afraid that one of the Edom is going to die. Come on, you think someone's going to die? You see, a dover of it doesn't have to mean that it's the loss. Dover means a loss. You don't have to say, for sure. Let's say, we saw the example before. If I don't open Hamoed, I'm going to have to pay 25 workers' pay, which is a terrible loss on the business. Not generating money, just paying it going out. But how about something, it's not sure, I want to write a document. Why do I want to write a document? Maybe the guy, one of the witnesses who saw the loan, is going to go away. He says, it's not going away. And he says, I'll be there after Yom Tov. Or you're allowed to write a get. Why are you allowed to write a get? Because maybe the husband says, I'm willing to come. We don't take chances. It's possible, a remote possibility, things will go not the right way, and maybe one of the witnesses will die, maybe it's called the Dover Ovid. See, Dover Ovid does not mean what many people think for sure a loss. You understand? Even it's just possible a loss. That's what Avram says, a Sofik Dover Ovid, because many learn it's not called a Sofik. That is called the Dover Ovid, there's a chance there's going to be a loss.
The actual Dover Ovid could be a Sofik.
Yes. So this is negay a lot. I don't know, because this is the basis of Hamoed when something is a loss. You know what you're allowed to do and not allowed to do. Let's say the pipe burst on Hamoed. You're allowed to fix. It's a dover of it. It's going to leak. It's going to be a loss. Water's going to, besides the water in California, besides that, just it's a loss. So anything that's a loss, or the fridge, the freezer broke, like we just said, it's a dover of it. All the food is going to go. I'm not talking about Yom Tov. Before you mentioned Yom Tov, but Hamoed, there's no question. Hamoed, you're allowed to have it. You're going to fix it. It's a dover of it. You're going to lose all the food in the fridge.
So that's what the Rabbi was asking. If you have a certain amount of income that you expect on a regular basis,
income expecting is not a dover of it. He's saying something else. I'm going to lose, mamish lose money.
Yeah.
Of course, we don't make money if it's not open Hamoed. You know, there's obviously, something's not open Hamoed, you lose money. There's nothing, that's what's part of business. The day I'm sure the day you're not open, you lose money. That's just generate.
It goes back to your example. If you have to pay all the workers,
that's a loss.
So in the same sense, in the store,
If it winds up, if I'm a storehouse, I have to pay the rent and the overheads, and it's going to make a loss then it depends. You have to see the situation. You have to really look at the situation. But that's the concept of a dover ovid. No more later we're going to learn what is called the Dover Uvid. Let's say the Rosh. That's very interesting. You know that the Rishonim, the Rosh, what was the panos of the Rosh? He was a banker. And the Rosh of Hilchos Hamoed. So the son writes, my father kept his business open, Hamoed.
The Rosh.
The Rosh, because he's going to, if it's not going to be open, he's going to lose customers. So that's what we learn. Losing your customers is a Dover Uvid. Because it's not that he's not going to make money. For sure I'm not going to make money if I close the bank. But the people start going to another bank. And you go to another place, I'm going to lose a customer. That is called the Dover Uvid. Now, is that for sure? Is that for sure they're going to look, very often, a customer cannot find you, and you put up a sign that, I'm out for the holiday, maybe he'll come back. It's very possible you lose a customer. That is called the Dover Uvid.
Did he himself work or did he have people working with it? You don't know.
You know what the Rabbi Tom's profession was?
No.
He sold diamonds, precious gems. That's what he writes. Those days weren't like, we are lucky that rabbis, some rabbis at least get paid for the work. Those days, there was a different. Okay, but says the Mechaber, you're not a Mechaber Malachta b'moed. You know what that means? You're not allowed to have intentions to say it's a Dover Uvid. You know what? It's a Dover Uvid. I'll do it Chalamoid. If you had a mind to do it Chalamoid, let's say you had a loss, it needs to be taken care. You pushed it of Chalamoid. We're going to learn. You're not allowed to fix it. Let's say you had a water leak. You tell yourself, you know what? It's got to be fixed. The best time to fix it is Chalamoid. I'm very handy. I should pay for the plumber who knows much money. I'll go do it Chalamoid. Yeah. You're not allowed to do that. And it comes Chalamoid, you're not allowed to fix it. Got to wait till after Yom Tov. If you had a mind to fix it in a moed, you got to wait till after Yom Tov.
That's right.
I'm going to skip because we're not farmers over here.
Does that mean a person has to be selective about what kind of work he does if he goes to work on
Of course. He has to be very clear what he's doing. Is it my work? If I don't go in, is it Dover Uvid or not? For sure. Many people, it's just a loss of making profit. But you closing Chalamoid, it's a loss of profit, or it's a loss of losing customers?
No, the problem would be the customers would start complaining and I'd lose the accounts.
So you lose that. That's a Dover Uvid.
So he's allowed to stay open.
You're allowed to stay open.
So the question is, when me specifically, am going in there, do I have to be particular about what kind of work I'm doing?
Oh, I mean, whatever you're doing is to make sure you don't lose customers. It's a Dover Uvid.
Everything is towards that goal?
Yeah.
I mean, like even if he has to write.
Yeah. If you have to write down, today no one writes everything computer, but if you do have to write, you have to write. That's called a Dover Uvid. But people have told me that by him it's not only question, I'm not nervous about losing a customer, strictly profit. A doctor once asked me, is he allowed to be open Chalamoid? I asked him, why do you want to be Chalamoid open? He says, I'm not going to lose patients. Clearly, I said to me, I says, why? He says, people are used to it. You can't make that week is full already. The appointments are taken. They don't know it's Chalamoid. It's just taken. So why it turned out I was pushing and pushing and pushing. He says, he's behind. He's got to generate money. He tells me, I moved into a bigger house. I got to pay a bigger mortgage. But, really a doctor doesn't do really malacha. He doesn't do any malacha, really. So I was looking around then. What malacha does a doctor do? He checks the patient.
Dentist.
Not talking about dentist. Dentist does a real malacha. But a doctor, so a dentist could be for Jewish patients that are pregnant. I'm not talking a surgeon. I'm talking about a doctor.
A surgeon is a sheikh.
Yeah, but a doctor really, besides writing, and he doesn't have to write. He told me he just speaks into what's the name, and the nurses take his notes. But the bottom line, there's really no malacha being done. He just checks the patient, looks there, and speaks to the patient. And but I remember looking it up. It wasn't so simple. It wasn't so simple for me, because he has to have the guy take the blood. He has to take the. It wasn't so simple that he's allowed to do that. And it was, if it's not a dover of it, I have to look. I wrote down about it. I'm not sure I wrote down, but I almost think I told him he shouldn't do it. Because his checking is nothing, maybe. He does nothing, he just speaks to the patient. But he has to have the guy, whatever you're not allowed to do nothing, you have to tell the guy, okay, take some blood tests. And he's got to, and they have to write down your blood pressure, and they have to write down, the temperature, everything. And he has to tell them to do these things for him. So that, remember, was the problem. Not his physical checkup, but the problem was about the rabbis work Shabbos too. So, a lawyer also asked me this question, but a lawyer could be a dover ovid. He's preparing for a trial and they realized there was not enough time to prepare and such things. Not always. Sometimes, it's just that he wants to generate money. But a lawyer, I once had a guy who used to be a criminal, a defense lawyer, he says, I described him, it's a terrible dover ovid. I have to go, I thought I'll be done.
What is he doing? He's just learning.
Well, he's writing notes. He's writing a lot of notes, what to say, what to take. There's a lot of writing, he told me. Okay.
What if he's a defense attorney and he has a court case or prosecuting attorney? The trial is going on.
Yeah, I'm saying, it's only Hamoed. Yontiv, I had attorneys ask me this question. I said, Chas v'shalom. Once I had an attorney, he thought he allowed to go Yontiv in. He said, I'll have someone drive me. He said, I don't know, I don't remember why, it was. I says, then you got to get an assistant. The lawyers know how to hire someone to help him in the case. Tell the judge, there's no heter in the world. A lawyer should go to work on Yontiv. This was Yontiv, he thought he could go. No such a thing. Okay. Now, look at Yidalit. I want to show you Halacha Yidalit, because that is a very interesting halacha. It shows how far. Halacha Yidalit, let me explain that halacha means. They used to take the animals, pasture them in the fields, and first let them pasture this part of the field. So when the animals give out manures, it fertilizes the field. Then when they move into another place, there's no malachim and Torah being done. If a guy does a Shabbos Yontiv, what did he do?
He built a fence around.
Even build a fence. Not Hamoed. Building a fence, but a Shabbos. Let's say he's not building a fence. Here we're not talking about it. He's just sending the animals out. I want them to fertilize the land. So it says, a Hamoed, you can't even tell a goy to do it for you. It's not a real malacha. It's just a tercha. You want to spread them out. So you see how far Hilchas Hamoed went. You follow? We're saying that all you're doing is sending the animals out into the pasture, and what your intention really is they should fertilize the land. So you're not allowed to even tell a goy to do it. If he did it on his own, we are makel. Sometimes you have to stop. We learned this more than once, that if a guy comes, does something for you on Shabbos Yom, you have to stop him. When he does this, you don't have to stop him. A guy comes, he wants to do something for you, you got to stop him. Guy wants to open the light, he wants to put up a kettle of water, you have to stop him. And if you didn't stop him, you can't even enjoy the light. If the guy put on the light for you, you're not allowed to enjoy the light on Shabbos Yom Tov. People don't know this.
Is it preparing for later?
What?
The cow.
The cow, it's not a tircha. The iser, it's tircha.
Tircha for who? For the cow?
No, for the people who's doing it.
If you would do it,
What
it
are
would be a
the people
tircha.
doing?
They send out the animals and they make sure that it walks around and make sure. Yes, a tircha. He has to. I'm not a shepherd, but it's not an easy job, because the Gemara seems to say that I want the animals to run around. When they run around, the things come out better, whatever. And that's a tircha. So it's not a real malacha. And if a goy, this is a special kula, if the goy did it himself, it's okay. So you see how far the Chazal went. Halamoed. People don't know this. People think that Halamoed, the shiksa, is allowed to do everything. Remember, in my community, till I got the people to understand that it's not allowed. You know. Yeah, even that. But that they got used to it because many are from the next generation who went to yeshivas. But get to a goy, the shiksa cannot do the laundry. She cannot,
So, Rabbi, I'm not understanding. What's the tircha for the goy?
It's a tercha to.
She's getting paid. What's tircha?
Hey.
She's getting paid. She's
Yeah,
making money.
that's it's not the money that we worry about. It's just we don't something you're not allowed to do. You're not allowed to tell the guy to do. It doesn't make a difference getting paid. Whatever you're not allowed to do, listen carefully. Whatever you're not allowed to do, you're not allowed to tell the guy to do. You're not allowed to take the animals into the field to make sure they move around to fertilize the land. You can't tell the guy to do it. There's a special kula over here. The guy came by himself. We don't have to stop him. There's a special halacha. But otherwise, something you cannot do, you cannot tell a guy to do.
So what can a Shabbos goy do?
Shabbos doy could do nothing but clean up the dishes and put them away. Now, if they want to wash it, they could wash the dishes because really washing dishes on Shabbos is only a chana. By a goy is a machlokes if a chana is also or not. So you want to be makel to goy because he has to do it anyways afterwards. So and he's allowed to. I mentioned this. If you have a dishwasher, it literally does not make noise. We got a dishwasher a few years ago. It absolutely doesn't make noise. I was shocked. Even till today's day, I'm shocked. It's absolutely noiseless. It wasn't expensive. I don't know. Just we got it. Anyways, the point is that the shiksa is allowed to do it, but she cannot wash the laundry chalamoid, and she cannot do anything. But you're not allowed to do. She's not allowed to do. This is something people have a hard time digesting.
But I do remember clearly learning that if you're at work and you need to write, you could ask the good to write.
You could write it too. If you want it, you work. Why you work? It's a dover over. Then you could do it yourself. If you go to work because it's a dover over, but let's say that's the reason, then you can write yourself.
I thought
You don't need to chalamoid. You don't need to.
like type on a computer and to write.
It's true. Some hold it's better. It's nicer. It's not a chiyuv. It's nicer. But once you go in to do a dover over it, you have to write.
Well, you need to have a shina by the oven.
You don't need to have a shini dover over it. You don't. But it's true. Typing today, computer, almost everyone knows it's not a malacha. Because people ask me, can I text chalamoid? Imagine you can't write. No texting chalamoid. What's going to happen to the 21st century? But really, you're allowed to text. Okay.
Manipulating electricity, I don't know how to do it. So you're not writing with it. It's turning the machine on, turning the machine on.
There's no malacha really there.
He's turning on the computer on a malacha on Shabbos.
On Shabbos, there's a big machlokes which malacha are you doing. If it's tikkumuna, by putting on, fixing the computer, the Shem Zalman wanted to say that putting on the computer is like a tikkumuna. It's not working, now it's working. The Chazani shows the electricity is a deraisa, it's a chibur, but well, they hold it not the way the Chazanish understood it. They hold it's a tikkumuna. They hold it's deraisa. The tikkumuna is pankim patish.
But it's already on.
Well, you still add electricity. Even though it's on, you're still changing a web page. Who says now the tikkun? So that's why, to write on a computer, there's really no malacha that.
Driving a car, riding a bicycle, riding a horse on Yontif and Hamoed.
Yontif, you're not allowed to ride a horse. Yontif, you're not allowed to drive a car because you're making a new fire. But the question is, riding a bike was a huge machlokes. What's wrong with riding a bike on Yontif? You're allowed to carry Yontif.
You're allowed to carry on Yom Tov?
Yontif, you're allowed to carry. So they held, in the good old days when the bikes came out the first time, you got a flat tire every 100 feet. I'm just joking. I mean, you had to know, you couldn't have, I remember when I was a child, every teenager had to know how to change the wheel and how to put up the chains. Does that exist still today? Chains come off?
No.
Doesn't come off anymore. But I was a child, teenager, that was every teenager had to figure out if the chain came off the bike, to put it on, and if the wheel, we still fix the wheels. Today, it doesn't happen, but still, it's accepted, it's asa. We don't change it, but it's very hard to say. I don't want to say the name. Aval Lubavitcher Shliach. Many years ago, he called me up. He rollerblades on to the Chabad house. Ayont. Shabbos. What is Yont? Shabbos. And Shabbos morning, it's a 4-mile walk, and instead of walking, he rollerblades to the Chabad house. He's the rabbi there, and. I said, I cannot tell you it's asa, but I cannot tell you it's mutter.
Rollerblade on Shabbos?
On Shabbos. Because
And you couldn't tell him that it was wrong?
I can't tell him it's wrong. Honestly, I tried to find this. It's a uvda de chol, but we're making it up, uvda de chol. So,
Same thing.
scooter is Shabbos is asa. We're talking about it's your shoes. And people rollerblade for hours long. And one of my children used to love to roll.
Like the same thing.
Riding bike is carrying the bike. The rollerblade is your shoe. There's a bike is not a shoe. Is a.
Back to Shabbos now.
Then that's.
Within the whole doesn't make it
But
up.
can we make our own uvda de chol?
What do you mean?
Doesn't say in the Gemara. We are creating uvda de chol. The Gemara says riding a horse. The Gemara says it doesn't say it's uvda de chol. The Gemara says we might rip out riding a horse. Why can't you ride a horse on Shabbos? The Gemara says you might rip off a branch to, to whip it. So we didn't say it's uvda de chol. So it's very hard for me to say that it's asa, but I don't want to say it's mutter. Right, same thing. You're not allowed to ride any animal. Can't lean on. You're not allowed to make smicha. You know what smicha is? Before they make the shechita of the carbon, you have to lean with the whole koyach on the animal. The Gemara calls that's called mishtamash b'bal chai. Even though you're not doing anything, you want to do the mitzvah. That's a machlokes b'sham b'silel. If you're allowed to do it, but it's called mishtamash b'bal chai.
That's because of the Pinot branch.
Yeah, once the Chazal asked it, but it's very hard to say. But the place came all universal, except a bike is also. But a rollerblade, it's hard to say.
We know of a doctor that ever told him he used to ride a bike, they would have told him to go on rollerblades. A doctor that wanted to go to work without taking a car. He was a heart surgeon. He said to go roller skates is better than a bike.
That's true. That's for sure.
Ship upon sea or an airplane.
That's talking Shabbos.
On
Shabbos is a
He was
brava.
doctor. He says whenever he was called to go, we told him if he doesn't take a car, he can go by a bike. So we told him if you're already taking a bike, you can take the rollerblades.
He's a cardiologist. Would tell you it's healthy.
If you're in an
Not for the
airplane
person who's
or
waiting.
on a ship, if you're in an airplane or on a ship,
You're allowed to be on a ship. You guys, you're allowed to be on a ship. That's a Gemara. You used to go on a ship. My parents came on a boat from Europe. In the 1947, 46.
land on Shabbos.
The land on Shabbos. Well, the land on Shabbos. That's a whole different sugya. Now, how about to do it? That's a whole. You're not. It's a big problem landing. I had people have asked me. One guy from here, his parents his parents go on a cruise once a year, and then somehow they forgot that he's Shomer Shabbos, so he couldn't get on the cruise. Cruise was leaving on Shabbos. There's so many malachas involved. It's enumerate that. But before Shabbos, a guy goes onto a boat, and even though it's going to be traveling, Shabbos, okay. Theoretically speaking, I have people coming from the Far East who leave Friday. I have someone, a lawyer, who leaves South Korea on Friday afternoon. He lands there Friday morning. One of those miracles. Coming from Australia is the same way. But but middle get Shabbos. Well, a few hours. As he flies Friday afternoon, gets dark on Shabbos, and then he goes back into the. You have to know the dateline, but it becomes again Friday. It's Thursday night.
Issue there whatsoever?
What's the Isser exactly? The only issue is I tell people not to do it because I watch people that are not careful. There's a few hours it becomes Shabbos. And you go to the bathroom, you play with your... I asked the guy, I told him ahead of time, so what did you do? What did I do? I was having my earplugs. Did you change it? I was thinking, I don't remember. So you didn't remember for 3 hours, there was a problem. Since then, I tell everyone, don't do it. Rather not. But theoretically speaking, you're in the ear, it's Shabbos, and it becomes Thursday night again.
So if they somehow figure out not to touch anything,
Theoretically speaking. But I see that people get it totally la la land. You know, once you're in the plane, Shabbos is out of your mind. I've asked a few people. Ain't chum in the malam asora. There's no chum on the asora.
More, they kiddush before they eat. There's other than amos.
But he doesn't have to make kiddush.
If he wants to eat.
Yeah, well, that's big mechalikas. Now, not worried about the kiddush. I'm more worried that I once had from the Elchonon, there was 2 shluchim totally miscalculated and left Australia, and they landed, I don't know from where, on Shabbos, and they didn't chop it was Shabbos. First day, and it's just terrible. It's a disaster. That's why I tell people to avoid this. But there's a guy, he does it for business. He has to go every 6 weeks. He just goes to South Korea. I think we'll stop over here. We'll learn next week. Tuf Kif Lamed Tes Choyde. Okay.